it. Injury-wise, Jake practiced today. I thought he looked good. If he's healthy for Saturday, he'll be the starter. But I've told Jake and Mike both of them need to be ready to go. Be ready to go play. We got two guys we can win with, and that's good to have.
Have like a leash on him and saying like now that you have Scarnecchia behind him?
No, I think it'll be determined before that. He looked good today. I think he's going to be fine. And at the end of the day, we'll continue to look at some mobility things tomorrow. But again, I'm never going to put a young man in a situation where he can't protect himself, and he couldn't have Saturday. Mike performed really well, and a guy that we had a lot of confidence in going into the game, and even more so obviously after it. And at the end of the day, we'll make decisions in the game to win the game.
You guys would be here late trying to look at the run defense. What came out of that meeting, and what have you guys come up with moving forward?
Well, I think that it's not one thing that you put your finger on and say, eureka, here we go. It's some misfits at times, whether it's from a secondary position or linebacker position, getting bounced out of a gap at times, leveraging the ball and tackling, and you go back and look at our A&M game last year. The ball got on the second level several times. We tackled it every time it happened. So 6 to 8 to 10-yard gain didn't turn into a 28 to 30-yard gain. And that's where the huge gash runs that have happened for us this year, where we've given up tremendous amounts of yardage by not tackling on the second level. And that's been frustrating, and that's been a little of the issue at the safety position. It's been some at the corner position and some at the nickel position. So those are all things we're going to continue to work on. We work on tackling, and every single day that we're in pads, that's something you got to do well in order to have a good defense and to be the type defense you want to have. But I think you go back and look at the Missouri game. I think they did a nice job in the run game on some things, and they caught us in some numbers at times. They got a hat on a hat, and you got to defeat a block at times. At times you're going to be at the point of attack. A tie goes to the offense. You got to defeat a block and make a tackle, and so we didn't do that enough times.
Taking away help, Jimbo, when you were at Florida and he was at Florida State, how does his Florida State teams look compared to this year's Texas A&M team?
Well, I think obviously it's his first year, so he's still recruiting to schematically what he wants to be, and that takes time. But a traditional two-back run game, multiple tight end sets as far as their 12 personnel groupings, and a lot of concepts run game wise and pass game wise are very similar, protection wise. Obviously those things are going to carry over. That's who you are as a coach, and then you adapt. And the one thing Jimbo does a great job of is adapting to what he has with his players and adapting to fit the scheme and system for what his players can do. And that's something you see. But, we go a long way back to LSU, spring games and spring scrimmages and fall camp and going against each other a bunch. So, but he's done a really nice job of adapting to – they've got some really talented guys. They had recruited well, and they've done a nice job with those guys.
The touchdown
shut down a very good Kentucky rushing game last week. You guys struggled at first against Missouri. Just how do you address that and try to get that run game on track?
Again, we got to find some ways. We can't get in a situation where we become a drop-back game. They're very active up front. You got to keep them off balance. And, I'd say the same thing about Missouri. Their inside techniques are really good. Beckner's a really good player. And that's why we did not want to get into a one-dimensional game with them. That's why we needed to stay in the run game. And sometimes it didn't, pleasing to the eye at times. But you have to do those things in order to be able to create some balance in what you do and not let them tee off every single snap. And that's what happens in our league with some of the defensive line we face.
Where have you seen improvement in Jemai?
Kind of seen from the third down defense. I know statistically it's taken a big jump. And is that something you sort of see reflected in the play, or is that maybe a little more situational?
I think it's game to game. I do think we've done a nice job. We've hit our goal, I think, in every game this year as far as 70% of the time getting off the field on third down. I think awareness is a little bit. I think our defensive staff's done a really good job of making sure our players understand, as you said, situational football, paying more attention to down and distance, paying more attention to what a team does on 3rd and 3 to 6 from 7 to 10 or 11 plus. The game changes when they do those different things. Where the ball is traveling on third down, who the ball is being thrown to, who are they targeting. I think that, overall, just done a much better job from coach to player of understanding those things. And I think our players have done a really good job of executing on third down as well, because we don't really add anything new, but we do change things week to week pressure-wise to give a different look based on the protection, and our players have done a really good job of executing. We hadn't had many mistakes on third down.
A lot of guys have kind of raved about.
Coach, your team has been able to run the ball pretty effectively, over 100 yards in the last 3 outings. Are you seeing the chemistry form on the offensive line and the development of those 6th, 7th, and 8th guys?
Yeah, I mean, I think Dylan Walden's a guy that's really continues to come along. Malik's a guy we've got a lot of confidence in. Jordan Rhodes is another guy that, again, continuing to push and bring him along. Chandler Farrell's had some snaps and done a nice job in his opportunities. But again, I think up until Saturday, we've been very pleased with our offensive line in the run game and in protection. And we didn't block some things as well as we would have liked on Saturday against Missouri. And we need to have a really good day against A&M because they're a very disruptive front.